Our spirit. What is it? Where does it go? Are we able to see them using our mind's eye? If so, just what can spirit teach us? Welcome to School Through Spirit. Host DeEtte Renee is a certified psychic medium and master teacher of psychic and mediumship development through LWISSD. DeEtte was born knowing spirit and now is here to help you better understand the spirit world. And now your host, DeEtte Renee.
Welcome. This is DeEtte here on School Through Spirit with WLTK-DB.com. This is a show of which I talk to different people of a spiritual nature and how spirit might have affected their lives, along with, as we start our morning, which is from my good book. So the way the show runs is we do talk about something of a spiritual nature, usually lessons, things of that nature. And then we go into my guest. And then, of course, we finish the day with the weekly reading. Now, this week, it is Miss Kara Phillips. Oh, my God, you guys are going to love Miss Kara Phillips. She is just an amazing woman. I'll read her bio in a little bit, right before I bring her on type of thing, or towards the end of this, just so you can kind of get the whole gist of who she is, because truly, this lady is an amazing woman. And all over the place, always doing things, and I really do believe you're going to love her as much as I do. And I'm sorry, guys, my head's all over the place. But I also wanted to let you know, guys, because I am sad about this leaving, and I had some guests scheduled into October, and I don't want to miss any of them. So we're going to have some special shows over this next couple of weeks. Now, those shows are not going to be live shows. They're going to be taped shows, okay? So this Thursday, 9 a.m., you're going to be able to pop on and get a special tape show with Megan I'm going to mess her last name up. Duputi. Megan is the witch on the Ghost Finders, and she is also a makeup and a makeup MUA, a makeup professional, but she works for movie sets, things of that nature. And she is like she's really good. She's like the main makeup person a lot of times. So, and I have been trying to get her on the show for a couple of years now without any luck because her schedule is cram-packed. But because of whatever's going on with the writers right now, I was able to at least get her to tape, which is awesome. So you're going to get that special show this Thursday. Good morning, dearie Dra. Good morning, Tim. Good morning, Maya, May. Kevin, good morning. I hope to get some rest. Thank you for the time this weekend. Oh, I know. And thank you so much, Kevin, for coming and saying hi. Good morning, Mr. Rez. Good morning. So let's look at the book. Let's go. So guys, you get 2 more weeks of me. Okay. Today, next Monday, and then you're going to have 2 tape shows. Tape show this week, a tape show next week. And then, you know what? Who knows what else might be happening? Me and Todd are talking about possibly doing a show, just me and Todd, just to wrap things up, just to wrap up the 3.5 years of blessed years and time we've had together. Because, it was me and Todd when we started, and we just might do a wrap-up show, just me and Todd in the end. So just to recap and enjoy and love, and hopefully all of you guys show up just to say hi, which would be awesome. Good morning, Miss Anne. So let's read from the book. So what are we going to do? Open it. Wow. I hate when he does this, but he does it. Good morning, Ward. Now I got to go and figure out this. Good morning, Nick. How are you doing? Awesome. Oh, okay, Anne. I need to go into my emails because I was like, no, not going to use that one today. And because of course it's Neil Diamond Walsh that sends it to me. And I went, no, I didn't feel like it, blah, 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 made the whole type of thing. And it looks like we have got to use it, whether I like it or not, So, and that's if I can find today's. Anyway, let's go on to this. So I want to tell you very few words. Look at that gorgeous picture. Very few words, but I'll tell you what, it's good morning, Miss Mona, from Norway. Oh my gosh. Good morning, darling. So right off the bat, guys, this is very few words. It just says glorify what you are today, yet do not condemn what you were yesterday, nor preclude what you could become tomorrow. Pretty short and sweet, huh? Pretty short and sweet when you're looking at that. But it is so incredibly powerful. It is so incredibly powerful in those words. Now, I do a lot of teaching people of being present, staying in this moment right now, always right here. And, for a lot of different reasons, but some of the main reasons I teach it is because I tell people, unless you're in a present moment, you're not going to get information from spirit. You really have to be, when they tell you, I'm in the focus, I'm in the lane, I'm in the groove, boom, 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 it's right there. So you get all that wonderful information. But really, what's a better reason to stay right there in this moment is I'll tell you straight up, it's to experience life. It is just so much just to experience life. Because so often, guys, we waste time. We waste a lot of time. What do? We think about what we did yesterday. We think about what we did last week. We think about what we did years ago. And a lot of times we're not thinking, well, I did the dishes last week. No, we're critiquing ourselves. We're analyzing it. We're analyzing it to death. And then we're condemning ourselves almost. And what I mean by that is because we're almost doing self-judgment. And a lot of times you will hear it. And I'll tell you what, you'll hear it from friends, from social media, from family. Hello, Nicholas. We will hear it from ourselves, everybody. The only way to heal from the past is to learn about it, look at it, analyze it, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of wrong words there. And what I mean by that is when we look into the past, we tend to, again, put ourselves down. What could we have done different? And honestly, you want to change, you probably would have ever, as often as we say, I would have changed this and I would have changed that, more than likely you wouldn't have. Why? Because you only had so much wisdom when you made the original decision. So I tell people, if you're going to look at the past, to heal the past, because that part is very important, but do it from a different angle. Don't condemn yourself. Don't put yourself down. Don't think you've made the wrong choice. Don't analyze it. Oh my gosh. Analyzing just leads to that self-judgment. Instead, look at it and go, what did I experience from this? What did I learn from this? Okay. And I'm not talking about the small pictures like I learned not to lie. No, it's like, what's the bigger picture? Look at these things from the past from a very outsider's point of view and look at what you brought to yourself, what you brought to your soul to really add and take it to another level. Doing it this way, it helps you to heal from the past. You would not believe it. It helps you to heal, but in a way that isn't so traumatic to yourself. And it also keeps you from going, oh my God, I did all these messed up things, blah, blah, blah. And instead it puts you in a place of wisdom. So with what this says, it's straight up. Don't condemn yourself for what you've done. Those mistakes were made, and not even mistakes, because there is no mistakes. But these things were done. We're not going to change it. And it also says not to preclude what's tomorrow. Why are you guys always thinking about tomorrow? It hasn't happened yet. It hasn't came. Now, I'm not saying don't plan your vacations. Don't plan your vacations. Gosh, y'all know I've been back a week from Florida with my grandson. Clearly a planned vacation. Flights and where we're going to go and what days we're going to do it, blah, blah, blah. Yes, all of that was done. But on the day of the vacation, the day that we go to Epcot Center, we wake up. There's no plan of what time we're going to go. Hey, Jenny, there's absolutely no plan when we're going. We wake up and it's how you feeling. What do you want to do today? We're going to go here, but what time do you want to go? And we just eat breakfast and we watch TV and we snuggle and we might get in the pool. We might not get in the pool. Who knows? And then all of a sudden it'll be like, okay, it's time to go. And we get in the car and we drive there. And when we get there, we're in the moment. We're not thinking about, oh my gosh, I get to go to Magic Kingdom tomorrow. Why? Because that's just a waste. You're going to miss what's in front of you today. You're going to miss who you are today. And those are the big words there, isn't it? Who you are today. What you're absorbing today. The wisdom of today. And the cool thing is I will tell you guys, when you get into that moment where you are really looking at today, and you get in that habit, you tend to stop having to look into the past. And what I mean by that is even when we're getting those hot debates or those arguments that we tend to get into once in a while, when you're in the moment, okay, it makes you stop and think about using my words wisely. It makes me stop and think, I'm never going to get this moment back. Hey, Rob, happy England. Hi. And it's late for you, right? Well, not really. It's in the afternoon. But aren't you supposed to be at an event right now, Mr. Rob? Rob's at, God, he's at an event he's in England today, guys. Him and his family are going to be doing an event. So anyway, yeah, I busted you, didn't I? I love you so much. But when you're in the moment, guys, when you're in a present moment and you're looking at stuff, what's going on right now, okay, you tend to start going, okay, what am I experiencing right now? What is happening right now? Why is this happening? And you start to absorb everything around you. You start to see things from the bigger picture while you're in it. Okay. And it is the coolest experience. It really is the coolest experience. Last week going around with a child that's not quite 4 yet. I mean, a lot of people be like, oh my God, why'd you do that? And you went to the Disney Kingdom? Like, oh my God, well, you're a glutton for punishment. And quite frankly, I was a glutton for adding more to my life. Because I sit there and I go, in my present moment, I'm going to see this through his eyes. I'm going to follow him. I'm going to be on the journey with him. Okay. Which also means that, this picture gets much bigger. I start to see things in a different way. I gain wisdom like I never got before. I become much more open to everything around me. And that's incredible because when I take my mind off of, oh my God, we did this yesterday. Oh my God, we got to do this tomorrow. Oh my gosh, all these things, all of a sudden my focus is here and it's here. It's here in my environment. Good morning, Bill. And I start to recognize everything that's around me. It also helps me to not just get through the day and get through the lines of people, but it helps to see him. It really just helps to start to absorb things. And also takes me in a place where, you got a 20-minute line that you're with this child, that child's going to go crazy. But now that I'm in a present moment, I'm interacting with him. I'm spending this time with him. We are interacting with the people around us and we're absorbing all that. And it's incredible. It's incredible. You'll also see some of this when people tell you, live for life. You know what? Love your life, live your life. I'm living in the moment. And so often we get out of that moment. So often you get out of it. And I will tell you, when you start to get out of that moment, we tend to start feeling a little bit of aggression. We tend to start feeling frustration. We will feel all those other things that really, it's because you're out of time. You're getting out of time. And when you go, wait a second, I think I need to get back into this present moment, you're not going to realize how many things walk away from you. The frustration walks away. Everything else walks away. Why? Because you're right now. You're right now. I want to give you a little extra thing that, my beginner students just got last week. And I always forget about this assignment that I hand out until later on when, it's at the end of the class and they all come back and they go, you know what? That was incredible. And one of those things is when we're not living in the present moment, we're all over the place. We tend to think about all of our problems. How are we going to fix this? How are we going to fix that? Now, these aren't problems like, how am I going to pay the rent or how am I going to get groceries? These are those problems that we have as filler things in our mind, filler things that, oh my gosh, these obstacles we have all around us. And I tell my students, I said, I want you to pick 5 of those things that you don't have to solve today, don't have to solve next week, just eventually you'd like to get them solved, that are always in your brain. You can never let them go. I want you to pick 5. And I want you to write each one on a different piece of paper. And then I want you to put those papers in envelopes, 5 different individual envelopes. And I want you to put them in a drawer and I want you to shut them away. And you're not going to think about those 5 things. But if you find time throughout the day and or the week, and you're like, I got time right now, I can deal with something. You're going to open up that drawer and pull out one of those envelopes. And you're not going to know which envelope's which, right? Because they're just randomly in there. And for that time period, you're going to focus on that one thing, just the one thing. And you're going to solve the issue of it. You're going to fix the problem of it. Okay. And it's incredible because you find out, all my students find out one of two things. Either one, they actually completed they fixed everything because they took them one at a time. Or they forgot about them in the drawer. And they forgot about the problems because they put them away. And then they found out they weren't really problems. That really they were just filler things of frustration in their mind because they were living every place else except for here and today. So I want you guys to think about some of that, guys. I want you to think about how often you are living for tomorrow or living in the past, and how often you are not experiencing this moment right here. And when you start to realize you're not experiencing the moment right here, I want you to bring yourself back to this moment, okay? Into the moment you're at. And I want you to stop and I want you to observe what is around you. Observe those colors. Observe the sounds you're hearing. Observe what is in your mind at that moment that you stopped. And then start living from that moment. Okay? Take your day that way. Start enjoying your life, guys. Because that's really all we got is today. We've only got today. Okay? So with that being said, good morning, Miss Paige. With that being said, we're going to take a short break. And when I come back, I'm going to have Miss Kara. This is Deanna here on School Through Spirit with WLTK-DB.com.
Looking for a unique paranormal experience? The Haunted Rock Island YMCA Paracon, October 7th, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. is just the event you're looking for. You will have the opportunity to investigate the Haunted Rock Island YMCA with ACG Paranormal. Visit with over 60 paranormal and metaphysical vendors from 8 or more states. And pre-order your t-shirts at dvinar@aol.com. Visit a psychic gallery reading, mediums, tea leaf reading, animal communication, dream interpretation, aura reading, tarot and oracle card readings, or get a Reiki healing. See a demonstration of the Estes method by Carly Bird. Presentations by Nick Simons and Aaron G. Thompson of 28 Days Haunted, Greg Bakken from Ghostbox Radio, and headliner Rick Hayes, along with many folks you'll see on Paraflix. Be sure to like and follow our sponsors: Paraflix, WLTK-DB Talk Radio LLC, Studio 6 Productions, Unturned Pages, and Ocean Eye Crystals. General admission is only $5, and all proceeds go directly to the Haunted Rock Island YMCA. For more information on the Haunted Rock Island YMCA Paracon and vendors, look for them on Facebook under Events.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. This is Deanna again with School Through Spirit on WLTK-DB.com. This morning with me, I have Miss Kara Phillip. She is the host of of the obscure. Is it into the? Sorry, I can't even read this morning. I've got a grandson popping in the back. She is the host of Into the Obscure podcast. She's been seen on the Discovery Ghost Hunters, and her photography is featured on Hello Obscura. Now, Kara joins us fresh off of a 5-year paranormal research residency at the infamous I can't pronounce anything. Joliet I just give up talking right now. Correctional Center. My mouth went bleh. Let's just welcome her in.
Hello.
I'm like, I can't talk. I quit speaking today.
I have to laugh because I tried to call somebody earlier today about something and I hadn't spoken yet. And she goes, hello. And I go, oh. I said, oh my God, I'm sorry. So
always,
just reminded me just sometimes it doesn't work.
it doesn't work. And today it's just not working. I was like, I'm so used to doing things just so off the seat of my pants that I go to read. I'm like, "Bleh." It just doesn't work very well. But hello, how are you?
Hello, I'm great.
I love it. I love it. So Kara, right off the bat, obviously I read your short bio, but really, how did you get in this world of paranormal? Who are you and
Who
how the heck did you get
who
into
am
this?
I?
I know it's like a
Um,
two-part question, but in a 2-hour
yeah.
answer.
No, so okay, my whole life, I grew up in the Chicago area and, kind of which is pretty spooky around here. And come to find out, my family, especially on my mom's side, it's pretty normal that people, we just I had to laugh at a recent holiday. Somebody said, "Oh, now is that house haunted?" And everybody goes, "Oh yeah, I saw." Like it's nothing, just it, I guess I thought it was a little bit more unusual to see ghosts, right?
Okay,
But
yeah.
everybody just acts like it's completely normal and it was never even talked about, so pretty normal on that side of the family. And I grew up with a ghost in my house. My parents moved into a house that was built by a man who had one daughter. His wife died, I don't know, in the house or at the hospital. And he and his daughter, who lived there the whole time, they moved to Arizona and my parents bought the house. They were actually, as the story goes, I was 2, but as the
Right.
story goes, he was planning on selling it to somebody else. And then he met my parents and me, who I guess reminded him a lot of his daughter. And he said, "No, it's you guys." And my parents said, "Cool," because
Right.
we
Oh,
wanted this
yeah.
house. Great. Um, my mom would hear, so now here we are, fast forward a year or 2, she would hear me talking to somebody in my room, and she would hear somebody talking back to me in my room, and this is long before
Right.
TVs, radios, whatever. And so I asked years later, "Why didn't you didn't go in there, you didn't do anything?" She goes, "It just didn't seem like it was anything bad. It was fine."
Right.
Okay. Cool. But it was never anything bad. And she, even recently we were talking about it. She goes, there was an empty lot next to us for a long time. Later, a house got built on it. As she was thinking about it, she goes, I used to, when the windows were open in the summer, I could hear men outside, like in the empty lot, like talking, like they're out, drinking and smoking around a fire just at the end of the night. And I
Right.
was like, "And you never did anything about that?" No. So that's just how very normal it was.
Right.
I really honestly, it was until years later, like when all the ghost shows started coming out, that I was like, "Wait, this is not normal for people. This isn't just what people see, think, feel, hear."
Right.
Grew up, uh sleepovers and everything were, Ouija boards and, all this stuff, not thinking anything of it. It was just normal part of our lives. I grew up close to and where a lot of my family is buried, Resurrection Cemetery, the home of Resurrection Mary, all the stories. And it was just
Yeah.
also normal, just part of, okay, let's look at the gates. Let's see if we see anything. And my mom growing up would always say, "Do you feel anything? Are you?" And again, nothing weird about it. So learned as time went on that maybe that was a little bit more unusual, for people to experience all that and those conversations. That's not totally a typical conversation. I guess now in this world that I'm, more immersed in, it is, but not, for everybody else. So
Right.
so growing up, then eventually, grew up going to Bachelor's Grove, on Saturday nights and running out of there like everybody in the Chicago area does, right? Running around in the dark and thinking this is normal. But then I went to college in West Michigan. They're not spooky there. I learned the whole world. That's about when I learned that this wasn't what everybody did. People there never even heard of Bloody Mary, like there is
Right.
nothing like spooky there. So I realized then, wait, this is maybe a little bit more unusual than I thought it was. So um, and then kind of shut off that part of my brain for a while. I had my kids, did all this stuff, and I just really was not in tune. I,
Right.
and even moving back, to the Chicago area and even back to the same house, not the same room, but back to the same house. And, really nothing was there because she did actually, I kind of forgot when she said goodbye. It was about 12-ish. That's how I remember it. It could be right around there. 12-ish. I was sitting at my giant computer because they were giant then. God knows what I was doing on it. And I saw her and I had never seen her before necessarily. She walked out, walked around the room. I felt her put her hands on my shoulders, and I could like hear her saying, okay, you're good now. I'm
Right.
leaving, it's time to go. And I don't know to this day, like, did her husband die? Did something happen with her daughter? Or was I just 12 and she's like, you're good, just that coming of age thing. And she's like, I'm not going to watch you anymore. I'm going to go. And
Right.
she left. Never ever felt her again. So I kind of honestly, like after that, didn't think that much of being too aware of the other side
Right.
necessarily, because she was gone. And my mom, would say like the house was remodeled, and it was prior to that. My parents spent one night sleeping in my room. My mom's like, that was the best night ever in that house, just when she was still there in my room. And I was like, yeah, I like my room. It was nice. And it was because she was there. And after that, I could tell that she wasn't. So
Right.
fast forward. And so I eventually moved back to the Chicago area, and I got into healthcare. So, I worked at a place that was I'm so curious to go in now many years later. The building's been there for a long time. It's one of those buildings that once upon a time it was this and that and the other thing, and a little boy died there once. It's one of those, who knows
Right.
what's through in that building, but at the time, and I think still, it was functioning like as an assisted living, kind of like a nursing home.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go there and work nights, it's going to maybe get a little creepy. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, it's just creepy, but then I started to notice there was areas that I just didn't even want to like open my eyes, didn't want to look down the hallway, didn't, just felt horrible. And those were kind of feelings, like feeling that stuff. That was the first time in a long time, because I do a really amazing job at, while I can see, hear, feel, smell,
Right.
spirits, I do a great job of shutting it off and having nothing to do with it. And I don't do it intentionally. I'm not saying, oh, I'm scared, I don't want anything to do with that. I just go, that didn't happen. You could literally, something could just pop up right in front of me and I'll be like, probably not. And if somebody else didn't see it next to me and say, did you just see that? I go, no, that didn't happen. So
Right.
finally, one day I was like, there's just something going on here. I worked with a friend, and I literally said, okay, is there like a spot you avoid when we have to do, we had to walk around whatever at night and
Right.
do rounds. And she goes, yeah, there's one, it's one hallway. And I said, okay, me too. But instead of talking about it, I was like, let's just both like write down which hallway it is, so that we
Mhm.
can actually just, verify it. Cause I'm obsessed with verifying it. I'm obsessed with evidence. I'm obsessed with it being logical, which is probably, why I don't see as much as I could. And we wrote down the same hallway, and I was like, all right, there's something here. There was a room that one woman told the story about the man in the corner. There's always the man in the corner. I'm sure you are aware of him as people are about to die. There's always a man in the corner.
Oh, always. Always.
And she's talking about the man. She's describing him. That's the only time I've ever had somebody describe him. She's describing him. She's talking about little people, that she can see. And she would always, she became incontinent. She would pee all over everything. And so
Don't you
that
love
was,
those ones? I'm sorry.
yeah, that
Whole
was
different
just,
show.
it made for an eventful night. And and as I'm like cleaning her bed and doing all this stuff, and she's going, well, he's right behind you, or, talking about the little people all around. I was like, okay, because here we are in the middle of the night. Great.
Right.
I'm really excited about all of that right now.
Right.
And I'm going to go to the creepy basement and wash and wash all of this. And because the basement, definitely, I would just like sprint through too. And the funny thing is, I've never actually researched the history of this building. Something about like all of those experiences, like I don't actually even want to know. I don't need to know. Whatever it is, wasn't ever happy with anything going on. So even during the day, the same spaces were awful. It was just better because it was light out. It felt safer.
Right.
So I'm doing all this, and that resident, she eventually did pass away, and as kind of expected, she just had a stroke. So she had a stroke, and just kind of like at breakfast, that was that massive stroke. So not long after, another woman moved into the same room, because that's what happens. She was not there long. She was pretty with it initially. Not long until she started talking about that man in the corner, described him the same way, started talking about the little people, started peeing all over everything, and then also just a massive stroke at breakfast in the dining room. Not much later, she was a lot faster. And I was like, oh, okay. This is all very, that's right. This is all very real. This whole world is very real, that I kind of shut off for years, just as I was doing everything else. And still, so then I was going to school, became a nurse. And from the moment right away, I went to critical care. I was in critical care even before I was a nurse as a CNA. from the moment I became a nurse, I stopped seeing anything. And I said, and actually there's another nurse I talked to later. She was like, me too, that she would see things before and then she stopped and she went
Right.
also right into critical care. And I was like, oh, I think I did a good job of just shutting it off again. I didn't think about it, but I'm right there at a whole lot of end of life. And I always say now, like now that I think about it more, I go, I don't need that at work. I don't need to be
And
aware.
I won't ask you how often you show up before, a code would be called. Like you've been there a
I
few minutes
usually
before.
it's funny.
Just
It's
asking.
let me talk about how many times I could talk about pee today, but I'll do that. I'll say I should go to the bathroom right now. Right now is my chance. I'm going to go to the bathroom.
Right.
And I did, and I'll like be just like walking out and I'm like, oh, all right. So it's funny. That's my weird, like, I think it's just that sense of like, you should do whatever you have to do and
Right.
take care of it. And so, and yeah, usually, and I think honestly, probably, I think we probably, a lot of us have gifts, obviously you
Mhm.
would know better than I do. I think a lot of my coworkers, a lot of people around us, I think we just know, like, we
Yeah.
know, you can just like feel, you
Mhm.
just know when it's going to happen. Every now and again, they'll surprise us, but usually we just know. And not even just because of like, what's going on with their body. You just kind of know. Um, there was, I'll totally diverge to just, it's interesting. I think it's interesting. So
Right.
people do go in groups, usually it's not just one for the day. It's, it'll, and we will, it really is. We'll count it off. If we're at
Mhm. 1,
5,
2,
we
3.
know there's going to be another one,
Right.
and if we're at 2, we're like, oh, who is it going to be?
Right.
But there was, it was during COVID. So it was a wild time. And there was one patient that was dying. We withdrew care. We knew he was going to go. And he had a younger guy next to him in the room who was very, very sick. He was, and nobody really, I think honestly, because of his age, just nobody expected anything, especially that day.
Right.
And right when the one that we expected was crossing over, like right around, those couple of minutes, this other patient had stood up, and just and died. And we were like, did he just, like I always say, did he just like see that like the door was opening and was like, now's the time? And it was surreal because his was very unexpected and everything going on. And the one was very expected. So all the family was calm and peaceful in one room and it was not in the other room. And it was just the most surreal moment, just the juxtaposition. But I was like, I think I feel like he just said, well,
Let's go.
it's time. Let's go. He saw the time. He said, all right. Because probably he was not far off overall, but just it was not expected that day. But so even at work though, I just kind of turned it off for years and years. So so now enter my time at the Joliet prison. And so
Right.
I started going there. So that plays, prominently into, well, everything recent in my life. So, and I was coming off of, when I went there, a really rough time in my life, really stressful, difficult stuff. So it was kind of time of, just personal rebuilding and learning who I was and all of that, awesome stuff that we get to do sometimes in our lives. And I remember when I walked in the first time, I definitely had to chuckle. I say this all the time. Some of the people and, people that are now just my best friends in the world, I go home and I was like, there was this guy, he's really big. And I don't know, am I spending my Saturdays with these people now? Like, is this what I'm doing? And then I went back the next Saturday and the next Saturday and kept going. And now these are the people that I, love more than anything and spend so much time with and talk to constantly. But, and that big guy is named Rob, and he'll tell the story. Yeah, I saw you and I thought you would never come back. Like they're going to come this one time. And then you came back, so we chuckle at how, our first impressions of each other, but we did, we noticed each other.
Mhm.
So I started just as I had passed the place growing up all the time. My mom worked in Joliet. We drove by. Back to me being an only child, when I didn't want to go to daycare and there was no school, sometimes I was like, take me to work. And she would. And that was so cool. And I loved being able to do that with her. And the coolest thing is probably a lot of cool things, but the thing that really like was branded into my brain, Joliet Correctional Center was in operation until 2002. So,
Okay.
in the 80s when we were doing this, it was in full swing. So we would follow, not on purpose, but follow the buses from the courthouse that was not far from us, that would be taking people to the prison. So we would follow these buses, we would see them, we would see the buses park and people starting to get off of them for processing. Like, it is just, if you've been there, it is just a pretty major road, goes between two giant sections of this prison, and you just drive like it's normal. And it's so wild to me, because now that's not how they build prisons. Now they're definitely pretty far away. So we're driving and it looks like a castle. And I was fascinated, just absolutely fascinated that we could be just in the middle of the state prison and driving down the street. So whatever, cool. Years later, I ended up moving about 3.5 miles away from it, just incidentally, not on purpose at all. And when it burned, when the fires were set by arsonists, I saw the fire from it. And I knew, like, when I saw the fire, I was like, that's the prison. And I always just felt a connection to it. So really, when I first went, I always felt called and I always felt a connection, but it was really just to be able to run around in this awesome place and get to, help preserve history and help clean it up. So there could be tours and there could be history. So that's all it ever started as, was just this fascination with history, these, just amazing times in our history and the people, and just being part of preserving it. So it's also haunted though. And people would talk about, and really the interesting thing, it was really abandoned except for vandals or people trying to spend an evening there, just for some shelter. There was a lot of people that kind of would squat there even. So other than that, there wasn't too much energy going into this place for a long time. And so it was funny. You could feel, and funny is probably not the right word, but you could feel it waking up over time, and just.
Well, that makes sense. You're introducing.
Yeah. And it was a lot of energy we were putting in. So, just physically in our chatter, our friendships, our, all of that. And it was the inmates that maintained the grounds. They did the cleaning. They didn't have somebody else come in to clean. It was the inmates that did it. So I think over time, as they kind of woke up, kind of felt us and saw us cleaning and doing their work and doing all of this stuff and putting so much love and care into their home and really where they're staying, that's where it started. You could just kind of feel it coming to life. But again, I like evidence and I like somebody else to verify it. And so so we started a while of saying, of me saying, okay, come on, like, if it's so haunted, somebody jump out in front of me, come on, do something, like you want them to do, move this, show me. And the funny thing is, I would actually admit to it. I'd be like, oh, did you see that? To somebody, and they would be like, yeah, or don't you hear that? But I was like, that's not big enough. I didn't see anything yet. Nothing happened yet. It's not big enough. And I would tell people, no, I haven't seen or heard anything. This is lame. They're not doing anything. While I would at the same time say, did you see that? Because it just wasn't big enough. I don't know. And I think I had shut it off for so long that I think I really wanted that really big, crazy, it can't just be a feeling, right? It can't just be, and for years I would still like have those feelings, or, you feel nauseous or you feel kind of dizzy, and you'll watch the TV shows or you'll hear people and they'll say, oh, I feel dizzy. And I'm like, that's not real evidence. That's not real. It is. Of course it is. But I never liked believing, because I'm like, no, if I'm not seeing somebody jump out in front of me, I'm not seeing it. If I'm not seeing something like concrete, I'm not seeing it. I'm the biggest believer skeptic ever. Like, no, that's not real. So because I think I do like to live my life and like just logic and concrete things. And when I don't have logic or concrete things to back it up, I don't know. I like evidence. I like, things that people can agree on. So time started going on, and we spent a lot of time. We were part of the paranormal tours, doing the paranormal tours, working with, learning how to ghost hunt, learning about the equipment, learning all the stuff. And I'm like, they don't do anything for me. Again, I would see the shadow, there's distinct things in different locations. And I'd be like, oh, that's funny, that EVP, but it's still like, it wasn't I think just until they were going to do it for me and big, I just wasn't, I was hearing people's voices. Like, there's doppelgangers, that happen there, and they would imitate, people that we know and, love and know very well. And I'd be like, yeah, that's weird. I would hear it and I'd be like, that's crazy. No, nothing happened yet. And I like the level of like denial in my brain is wild when I look back at it. I'm like, wow, what was I waiting for? So I was waiting for
Right.
something big. So finally, when I finally said, okay, I see and hear and feel and smell things there. Fine. They did it. There was one night on a paranormal tour again, since I never saw anything or never heard anything, I just kind of considered myself just somebody that was there with guests,
Mhm.
whatever, keeping them safe, keeping them from running off because it is a big, dark place that is not always the safest to be in
Right.
some areas. So I would, just kind of, and again, I never saw any ghosts, whatever, even though I did, I would just always I would have my back to the galleries and I would just watch the living people and make sure they stay safe. So
Right.
one day, a couple of guests, and so this is what it took. It took the evidence, it took other people. A couple of guests say to me, "Is there somebody down there?" And I would always say, "Oh, nobody living," haha, something to that
Right.
effect. And because I'm not going to say no, there's probably stuff down there. And so and side note, I would get so jealous. There would be people that would come there like one time and they would look down a gallery and go, "Don't you see that during the day? Don't you see
Right.
him?" And I'm like, "No, sure don't. I'm not saying you're lying, but I sure don't," and I'd be
Right.
sad. I'd be like, "I'm not seeing him."
I'd be the same
So
way.
I'm like, "Why not me?"
Right.
And important. I'm going to digress. Why an important thing in seeing things. So the whole West Cell block for a long time was locked off. It was everything. The state walked away, locked everything. Also left all the keys. It would have been really easy to unlock everything, except a lot of people stole a lot of things. Over
Right.
the years when it was abandoned. So the West Cell block was locked to people, and I'm going to say even the spirits because it's all iron, all of those gates and
Right.
everything. So whether they're not able to cross, the iron, like, see the cemeteries will say it has to be the wrought iron, so they can't cross it. So whether
Right.
they can't cross it or they just don't know they can cross it, I don't think they were. I think it really was sealed for a long time to people and spirits. So,
Right.
or at least one in particular. So we had opened the West Cell block not long before this happened. And there was always people would, and again, people would look down the West Cell block. That's where they would see this man just standing down there. They
Right.
would, and you could always just feel when you're you could just feel something on that side at the gates, but we couldn't go down there. So, and
Right.
usually you chalk that up to like, well, the temperature is different because it's cold there. So of course you feel some cold air and there really is because of its own little, it gets cold. There are mists, and fog really legit from water, not
Right.
because it's a ghost. So you just attribute everything to that easily. So we had just not long ago opened that. We would start to hear footsteps, like heavy, like guard footsteps. Inmates were more like slippers ish.
Mhm.
Guards were heavy boots. So if you hear like heavy boots, it's a guard. If you hear, well, you probably wouldn't hear the inmates. It's more just like a shuffle, maybe with
Right.
slippers. So in the West Cell block, we would hear heavy steps.
Okay.
Okay, whatever. And so one day I was cleaning actually the blue she cell from the movie, cleaning it up to hopefully be able to open it for tours, have people come see it. And I
Right.
kept feeling somebody stare at me like a gross man staring at you, just like, ugh, and I
Mhm.
kept looking, you know, you know,
Yeah,
no, you
yeah.
know, and I kept looking down and I was like, no one's there. And, and I would start like sweeping again. Mind you, I'm just like wearing overall, I'm not even like wearing anything. A gross man would be like staring at. I'm like, what are you looking at? Like, what is happening here? And
Right.
like, what are you doing? And so I keep like, and it was just so gross. I keep looking up. Nobody's there. I can't see, but it just feels, and every time I'd look up, it would feel kind of just like, poof, nobody's there. I would start within about a minute, just sweeping. I'm sweeping. I'm just like,
Right.
like nauseous. Like it just felt awful.
Mhm.
So fast forward to that night. That night we had a tour and now some guests down in that same direction as that gross man, so now
Right.
we're in the East Cell block, but it's coming from that direction. They go, "Do you hear something?" No, I don't, but somebody might be there. Can we go down there? Sure. We walk down that way, but then I start hearing what they heard. It sounds like heavy old keys. So the prison keys are very
Okay. Yep.
distinct. They're heavy, clink, clink.
Yep.
And I was like, oh no, because I could hear that too. Now, and so here's where like that evidence comes in. If somebody else hears it, I'm like, oh, now it's very real. Like now I'll let it in my brain and it's real.
Right.
So I go, oh, and then we see like a point of light, like a flashlight. It's not illuminating anything, but it's just like a point of light, like somebody's holding a lantern or something.
Right.
And they're like, do you see that? I was like, sure do. Okay. So then it kind of like walked by us and kind of just was gone. And I was like, oh, that's a thing that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And, they had like, I think just like cat balls they brought with them. We hung out down there. Nothing else happened. They got bored. And I said, good. Let's go join the group. Let's be done over here.
Right.
So a little while later, another couple of people, they didn't hear or see anything, but they said, can we go down there? Sure. Let's go. And I go with them. But this time it wasn't even like a lot of a warning, not like walking past us, but all of a sudden I can like hear the keys, see the little point of light, and just this giant, like solid, like black mass shadow, just
Right.
big somebody just like walked out in front of me. And I felt the same exact, like that same, like nauseous, bleh, feeling from
Right.
that morning. And I knew, I was like, this is the same guy. This is the same guy. This is a guard. This is what was happening earlier. This is who. And so my thing is I run, like I can't help it. Like this fight or flight, like just kicks in. I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and flight. Cause I'm not going to fight anything. I will
Right.
just run. My friends will laugh at me. They're like even as they're jogging with me to stay with, they're like, you can't outrun the ghost. I'm like, I know. I just need to be further away. And I will do this like anytime. And I like can't help it. So I just like, jumped. I left those guests down there. I didn't care. I just like ran. And the director of operations this time, like a friend of mine, she goes, good to see how you are in an emergency, like knowing what I do. And I was like, this is not an emergency. This is different. There's nothing that I'm going to do here.
Right.
It just felt like I should run. And it felt like I should run. It felt like I had to like get away from him because it felt so icky from earlier. It was just that like, it was just like, I was just nauseous. It was just like overwhelming. And I was like, oh man, I don't like this. So I called, so we called him the guard, cause that's who he is. I am the worst at like the exact history. My friend, well, I shouldn't even say I'm the worst. I probably know a whole lot about the place that most people don't know. And I remember all this stuff, but I hang out with the actual historians that really are fantastic at it. So they'll just like rattle off names and they'll, all this stuff. And I go, and I have to repeat stuff back to him. Okay. So we think it's this one. And I just like, so I call myself the worst, but I'm probably not actually.
Right.
So there's a few people, especially one that they think the guard probably is.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. That's why I say I'm the worst. I forgot the name because to me, just the guard.
Just the guard's enough.
So at first he was really like scary because who is this guy? And now I can tell when he's there, like he obviously he likes me. He likes some of us. He likes the girls, especially. He doesn't necessarily like the guys. So this Rob that I referred to earlier, he could sometimes like feel him, like stop him, sometimes to go places. There was one time, it was one of the big rentals. It was Sam Beltrusis it was the Estes method.
Okay.
And it was actually like him coming through and it was so cute. He was saying like he liked me. I was there. He doesn't like Rob, was able to name names, doesn't like Rob, telling him to leave. And then where I became, again, I like my evidence. I like so obsessed with the Estes method and just like a true believer in just, everything after this moment. This woman with the headphones, she, of course couldn't see a thing. She's, doesn't even know these, we're so far away.
Right.
But from my perspective, I could tell that Rob stopped before he left the gallery. He didn't leave because he was told to leave by the guard. And he didn't leave all the way. He stopped because he wanted to keep listening, see what was happening. He's kind of watching. And he said, no, leave, keep going. And I was like, oh my God, I love this so much. I'm obsessed because I don't find as much as I'll run when something happens. I find all of this so delightful and amazing. And we are so fortunate to be in a world that we can interact with the unknown, and it's a little, I won't know what the unknown is, for hopefully a very long time.
Right.
But I get to interact with it and get to have some familiarity and kind of comfort in that,
Right.
So I think it's so cool whenever something happens that you're like, there is this actual connection, this actual like intelligent connection, this actual interaction we're having over time. I think that's the most amazing thing. So I'm just like giddy with it. I think it's so delightful. I just like started laughing, and Rob, just had to go, okay. And he just like stepped out and I think it's fantastic. So it was after, after that initial experience, when I saw him that night, I go running and it was after that I finally was like willing to admit to myself, wait a
Yeah.
second, you're seeing them, you're hearing them, you're interacting, and you're more aware of all of this stuff than you think you are.
Right.
And so it became, at least there, it definitely became like pretty normal. You would walk, you kind of walk in, you say hi, and you can like feel, you could
Right.
feel the hi, and or smell the smells. Sometimes you walk somewhere and, you're like, oh, and you smoking, you can
Right.
smell it because it's prison, so, or there's some places where it's not necessarily that they're with you. You could like see shadows, just in areas, and that's what you're going to expect.
Right.
So it was after that I was like, oh, I'm actually seeing this. I still like the verification. I still like when somebody sees it with me, but so this is where it comes in. I always say I need to like take one of your classes or whatever, because I'm the best at shutting all of this off. And
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
still, even as I'm like, oh, I really want to be more connected, I'm like, not connected. And and I learn I really have to trust
Mm-hmm.
abilities. Like, even so you said hi to Paige right before I came on, and it reminded
Yeah.
me, I took her, so I will say out loud,
Hopefully Paige had a better experience with you than me. So
we just had a real fun day. It was a super fun day. That we went to Bachelor's Grove that day, and
right.
I took them because on our way to another place we were going in the evening just to hang out and have dinner and everything. Took them to Resurrection Cemetery. So I will say the only place in the world, I'm not joking, like when I say this, there's something about that big mausoleum at Resurrection Cemetery that scares the crap out of me. And
Okay.
that is the one place that not only would I not pay money to go stay at, that I think something goes on is haunted. I don't know how much it would take to be paid for me to spend the night there.
Oh
Like,
wow.
I don't know. And it's always been ever since we went in, because again, a lot of families buried there, not in the mausoleum, in a whole
Right.
nother section. So one day, like with my mom, ages ago, went in, we're like, oh, we should go in there. Let's see what it's like. And I hate it. Like, it's so creepy. I will admit, now I kind of go in because I kind of like actually going somewhere and it scares me, that's,
Yeah.
and it's fascinating. I'm like, why is this? Like, I can't get enough of the why. And so it actually, like, it's the one place that really like creeps me out. If I have people with me, it's less, you have people with you,
Right.
it feels safer when people are with you. But if I go in by myself, it's really,
That's a
I don't,
lot.
it feels really bad. So it was kind of actually like on that trip in with them more recently that I said, oh, I have to really start actually trusting when I feel stuff, because I'm like, why, I feel, it's, kind of nauseous, like a headache, like ominous, like I should, just kind of close my eyes and run at the same time,
Right.
every time when I'm in there. Some areas feel better than others,
Mhm.
but and honestly, for a long time, I had to verify this one day. I actually went to another huge Catholic mausoleum in the area that's just gorgeous. It's not the
Right.
same. So it's not that it's a giant mausoleum. That I would like to sleep at that one,
Right.
but I could take a nap. But
It's the
this
haunted
one,
one.
terrifying.
Yeah.
So that's that visit. So kind of walking around with Paige and talking about this and just having that experience again is where I was like, I really need to start trusting, like, when I feel this stuff and
Mhm.
actually using this as my own evidence. It doesn't need to be somebody else telling me. I'm obsessed with somebody else telling me what they feel and me going, me too.
Yeah.
But at some point I need to kind of cross that line into being like, I feel, and so this is a thing.
Right. And Paige is an amazing historian, so trust me when I say, you say, "I feel this," if it's correct, she's gonna let you know you're correct.
Yes. Yeah,
Yes.
no, that's yeah, and she's so fun to just like spend the day with. So that's why I say, like, the historians, it's the
Right.
historians I'm fascinated with, because it's actually, in the end, it's the history that I love.
I love that.
But the paranormal goes with everything too. It all ties in so well. You don't have the paranormal without the history.
Right.
And at least for me, it's, so you felt something cool, but what's behind it? What went on in this space?
Right. Well, and that's what ends up being really cool about that is that to me, I think they join together. And I
Mhm.
think that when you've got the feeling and you've got the paranormal and you've got the history, all of a sudden you get the true story and not necessarily the rumors that have been created over time.
And that's, well, so then like bouncing back to the prison, I think it's been such an interesting experience, or had been, there's that premise of when you spend a lot of time in a place. So it's the 28 days haunted premise with the Warrens. I
Yeah.
never spent 28 days straight there, but I certainly spent well over 28 days there
Oh,
cumulatively and was there constantly, and, did a lot of work, put a lot of energy into the space, day and night, and
mhm.
having that familiarity. And it's, first of all, that's an amazing experience to have that connection with the space
Right.
and the spirits and everything that's there. But also to also have such an exposure to the historians, the people that truly know, everything about it.
Yeah.
So I do, when I do hear these things that are just, you kind of know where it started, that, story upon story upon story. And then later the 10th person tells it on something. You're like,
Yeah.
that's not actually what that story is. That's not real. And it actually just makes it so much less interesting when it's not anywhere near the truth. It doesn't actually
Mhm.
connect to what happened.
Yeah.
And the reaches that get made to try to make things look scarier. It's scary enough on its own. It doesn't
Oh,
need, extra stories. I shouldn't say scary. I think it's delightful, but people
right.
think, enough happened there and there's enough story there.
Mhm.
But without the actual history and without those historians really preserving it, you have nothing.
You
So
have
it's,
nothing.
and that's, I adore Paige. Well, I adore Paige, period. But for all of that.
Paige is pretty cool. I got a beautiful day with Paige. I will say I got a half a beautiful day with Paige, and then Paige got a half a day that wasn't so beautiful with me. So
Oh.
I got jumped on the side of the road by spirit, and I vomited for 5 hours, and Paige was there
Oh,
for 3 of it. It wasn't
oh.
fun. I was in the ER that night. They actually thought I had a stroke. Oh yeah, it wasn't,
Oh,
yeah. When
oh,
they determined no stroke, the doctor sat down, looked at me, goes, "You're a medium." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "We need to talk about that."
oh,
And that's how they
that's
treated me.
awesome.
It was really awesome, but Paige is a great person to hold your hand to, just so you know.
Good to
So,
know, because we're gonna spend the weekend together pretty soon here. So
are you coming next year? Or?
yes. Well, this
Yes.
week. No, this
Oh, this week.
weekend.
This is cool because
This weekend.
I laughed because they're putting me in the nurses station. I'm like, I retired, right? I retired.
But it's appropriate.
It is appropriate. It is appropriate, which is kind of cool. But so how did you end up with all this going on? I think I can see like a natural progression, but how did you end up on
How
a
did I?
ghost
So
hunt?
yeah, so then I said, so probably pretty important to like the overall story is there was like kind of that rougher time,
Mhm.
6, 7, 8 years ago.
Right.
And, so then I say too, I credit, going to the prison. So just again, I started there as a volunteer, and kind of in a rough place, just like psychologically and everything, that I was
Oh,
like, that so nice to make these friends, right? So as I started, this friend Rob that I at first said, "Oh my God, I'm gonna hang out with this guy." He'll say, "You're different now." And I'm like, "Well, I'm not different. I just kind of showed up in rough shape, and now when you're surrounded by amazing people that love you and you love them and cool experiences, you really do kind of get to do what you're supposed to do, and
mhm.
reach your potential instead of not."
Yeah.
So I definitely learned about a lot about life and myself, and just kind of how to work through things, because don't a lot of us have like that origin story of things being difficult,
Right.
and kind of fighting back from something. So through that time, having those best friends and developing those relationships over time with people that you really just kind of maybe were those weird coworkers at the
Yeah.
same time, so, and that was kind of all an accident, because at the same time, then now COVID was happening. Now we're coming into 2020 eventually.
Right.
And that was for me. So, first of all, going to the prison was everybody's salvation. It was how we survived. We had a day a week that life was normal again, that we got to be normal people and just be together with these people. And the rest of the world was crazy. And we
Yeah.
had a little while that we were with just normal people being normal, doing what we did last year too. And we just kept doing it and kept having projects, like kept getting to do something. So that was huge. And at the same time, that's when I went back to critical care and things were pretty crazy. And you learn just how strong you are. And you start
Right.
meeting all these other amazing people that are so strong. So really, it's funny, like that time both like, both tore you down, but also like built you up. So then in that
Mhm.
time coming out of it, I realized, well, what are you going to be afraid of? There's a lot worse things out there than doing something maybe slightly embarrassing,
Right.
so things that I would never say yes to. So I had an opportunity to be on a podcast. And at first I was like, "Oh, are you joking?" Like, you know, literally I responded, like to the, invitation basically with, "I'm not interested," like, "No,
Right.
you don't want to talk to me ever," like, and I, and he was like, "You'd be surprised, who knows?" And it was literally just to like apply an interview. Nothing was like definite. And I was like, "Okay."
Mhm.
And so I started like literally just calling it the year of yes. All the things that like I've always been afraid to do, or to like, no, somebody's going to say something negative about
Right.
that. I was like, "Oh, well, who
Mhm.
cares?" So with that, so between, the prison and my experience, with COVID and just growing through all of that and being surrounded by amazing people and, just kind of moving in like love with everybody and, and for myself and appreciating what I can do instead of what I
Right.
can't do. And just kind of saying, yeah, people would say, I'm like, "It's the year of yes." They're like, "Well, don't say yes to everything." I'm like, "Well, I'm not ridiculous, but I'll say
Right.
yes to most things,
Not
like,
good enough.
wanna do
Yeah.
this horrible, dangerous thing? Probably not, but,
Right.
like, this thing that just might otherwise be slightly embarrassing one day, sure, whatever.
Mhm.
Um, so it was in that. So really, like, I credit, like, my friends and, like, all of, I give them, like, all the credit in the world. Couldn't do it without, and family, of course, and my family.
Mhm.
But the big difference was, these people I surrounded myself with that were maybe different than before.
Right.
And just really, learning to say, "Sure, let's try that, let's do it. Let's, like, live out loud," and in a good way, and,
Mhm.
and really see what could be brought into the world instead of just kinda hide from it a little bit.
Right.
And it's even, like, and even at work at the same time, like, really, kind of with all of that kind of came into, just all around doing better at things because I wasn't hiding from myself for what I could do or what I was able to do. And so just kind of came into that and started seeing what could become. And really, like, even for the podcasting thing, I was like, give yourself a year. If it's after a year, it's weird and you're just not enjoying it and it's not doing anything, and then stop it. Whatever. Who cares? Give yourself
Right.
a little bit of time. And it wasn't weird, it was fun, and it was and I through relationships I already had, like, doors were able to open, and I was able to go do these awesome things that I was wanting to do before, but was saying, "Oh, that'd be weird. No,
Right.
nobody wants me there." So, so then all of that, because I just say yes to things,
Mhm.
so I say yes to a lot of things, and, even though I'm getting my master's degree right now, like all this stuff, and I'm like, I do too many things, but like at the second I'm not doing too many things, I go, I need to do something else. I'm bored.
Oh, wow.
So even
Okay.
if I have a break in classes, I'm like, what else should I do? And I'm like, no, it's just a break. Stop it. Don't do another thing. Don't do it.
Right.
Um, so I constantly do things, and instead of it being like nervous anxious energy, it probably, ask my husband, it's probably still nervous anxious. He knows when I have an assignment due, he's like, everything gets real clean, when you have an assignment due. He knows it, but I turn it into things. So most recently that segues into then the Into the Obscure podcast. It's our
Mhm.
new, it's our baby.
It's fun.
um
Fun to watch.
I Thank you.
I watched it the other day. I was like, "Oh my gosh, they're having so much fun."
Thank you. Yeah, no, so with that, so it's our new one. We have Tressa, who we met on the old podcast, and
Mhm.
then and we really like hit it off and just, adore her and really have a great relationship. And Jenny, I've known for years. Like, we
Wow.
just, and we ended up on our old podcast together. I was like, "Oh, Jenny, you love cryptids and to talk about
Yeah.
weird things. Let's go talk about weird things together."
Right.
And she was like, "Hey, I'm in," because you don't, as we all have maybe noticed, there's
Mhm.
some circles, like these circles we get to talk about our weird things and act like it's perfectly normal, because it is perfectly
You're right.
normal, but not everybody thinks it is. And in other circles, when you try to talk about some of this stuff, people are like, "What? Why are you talking about this? What
Mhm.
do you like that?" So, you like being able to talk with people that like to talk about it. So she was like, sure, I'm in. This is great. And so all of a sudden we find ourselves together doing this podcast, and it's really fun. And we have the coolest friends that we get to talk to. And so then we realized the three of us together being friends together and talking about the coolest things and the coolest people will be a lot of fun. So that's how this one was born. And it is like, we literally will, like, my husband, sometimes we have like a separate group chat, like, cause he helps with the websiting and everything. And he's like, you guys are just fun to read, you're just like, just to read you talking, like, this is fun. Or even sometimes we'll hop on like Restream, just like to all talk face to face. Like, have a meeting and we're like, we should just probably make this a live, because we're just like, it's just fun to talk. So yeah, we actually kind of struggle. We love having guests on, but we're like, we should have them come on late so we could just talk for a while to each other. So we're still like working out our timing there.
It was beautiful. I mean, I got to watch a little bit of it and I was like, oh my gosh, their interactions are incredible. I'm like, and it just like, for me, it was like three floating heads having a great time. And I'm like, oh my God, this floating head.
We did switch to Restream, so we can't be floating heads anymore. I'm like,
oh my gosh, the floating heads were so cool. It's like, I don't know what we're doing. This is awesome.
I liked the floating heads because it's like we were all sitting together. Like, it's like we're all hanging out. And because we all live, Jenny and I get to see each other a lot, but Tressa, she doesn't live that far away. But when you're all adults and you have lives, you don't get to see each other all the time.
Right.
So I'm like, oh my God, it's like we all get to be together and like hang out and talk to each other when we get to be on the show together. So no, I'm like dying for this weekend because all three of us are going. We're going to stay in the same Airbnb. So like, we'll see how our show is on Monday. I was like, I'm a little concerned about the Monday show, on the 25th. And they're like, why? And I was like, it's a long weekend with a lot of peopling. And then I go to work on Monday right afterwards. And they're like, oh, you'll be tired. I'm like, it's just like a lot. I don't know. Like, it's a huge outpouring of energy for a while. So we'll see about Monday. Like,
show up and vomit it all out.
And we have a guest. So I'm like, oh, when do we have her come on? Because we need to like talk, or are we going to be like, come on at 9:01 because we've talked all weekend.
Exactly.
So I don't know. We'll see how it is. But no, I'm so excited for all of us to be in the same place. We're going to like be running around, and we're looking at the like where people are. So yeah, you're in the nurse's station. Everybody at first, like when we saw the first list of where people are, I'm like, okay, so we're living in the basement, like with some people. And then I was like, oh no, we're actually going to live, and I was like, well, we can move around a lot. We have 3 days.
Well, it's a whole place. So why not?
It's a whole place. So we're so excited, like, to see everybody and to see, so that's, and so for me, like, I will, to be totally honest, I love like the ghost stuff. I love the paranormal investigating. I love all of it. I'm so excited to go to Sheboygan and just really, I picked a tour that I knew Larry was doing, so I was like, okay, perfect.
It's perfect.
So we're doing Saturday night. And I love all of that. But honestly, it's probably at the end of the day, I am obsessed with people. Like, that's in the end why I became a nurse and why I love it. I'm obsessed with people, and I love humans the most. And I am obsessed with getting to talk to people and learn more about them and like that interaction and everything. So I think, I love this, like getting to be a podcaster and talk to people gig, because I get to talk to everybody.
You do it from all different things, and then it becomes normal. Life just becomes normal. And you're like, wow, this is my life. This is what I get to do. And it's amazing.
Like all these cool people, like, what is it, and like, and Jenny with her, like, she's more of the cryptids and everything. And I usually like handle like, booking people and everything. And she's like, can we do more cryptid and Bigfoot people? And I'm like, yeah, because I mean, I'm more in like the ghost world and everything. I was like, yeah, totally. We're booked until March, but yes, after that.
There you go. Well, I know somebody that just wanted to tell you that you could probably get a hold of on all the whole Bigfoots.
Oh.
Her and her husband did a whole documentary on Bigfoot. Matter of fact, the second one just came out.
Oh.
They want to tell you on the first one. So there you go.
Oh, I will have to.
I will send you some information.
Yes, absolutely. No, I would love it, because I have to say, and this is why it's fun too, because I just love, they're some of my best friends. Like, I love my co-hosts, and I love, one of my favorite things is when one of them has like a guest that they, that they're excited to talk to, or content that they want to talk about. I just like love sitting there and watching them. I don't even need to talk to this person. I just like love I am obsessed with them being excited about it. And that's why it's fun too, because
this has been great watching you, because one question is like, oh my gosh, just your excitement is awesome. Your excitement is like, incredible. You know what I mean? You can tell you just love
I
watching.
just love them. Like, I love all of it, you
Yeah.
know, and I think that's the big difference, like, for me in the last, like, while and, like, the year of yes and stuff. I think for me personally on my journey, I used to be more like, it's cool to not be excited about things, or it's
Right.
cool to not love people. And that, like, when you hold on to that and trying to not
Mhm.
embarrass yourself, or trying to be cool, or trying, to be somebody you're not, it's that story you tell yourself, and it starts to become what you are. And it really starts to, like, it drags you down. And now I'm, no, be excited about it. Like, live out loud with it, be happy. And that's who I am.
Mhm.
And it's great to actually live like that instead of trying to not be like that. And
And it
so,
shows.
yeah.
It shows,
Yeah.
because I'll tell you what, I don't stalk you, but I live to watch where you're going next on Facebook. 'Cause I'm like, "What state did you go to for fun?" Like, if you follow me, I'm there to work. You're like, "Nope, just gonna go have a
No,
good time."
just for
Just gonna have
fun. Like, no, I am cramming this all in with work and with
Yeah,
school. Like, I will say it's funny, like, this week. So kind of like the beginning, that I should have just, like, hopped on this earlier to, like, listen to the whole show, but I was, like, doing stuff. So Larry had a post about school. I'm listening to
right,
your thing about, like, being present and all the things you have to do, and I scheduled, like, my whole life this week, like, everything. I not on purpose, but, like, there's a big
right,
project due. I might have to, like, get a car this week. I might have to travel on Friday to Wisconsin, not have to, want to, but, like, all of
right.
this just, like, happened all at once. And I was like, okay. And I read, one of my dear friends, had a loss, huge, huge loss, and we're all devastated. And
Yeah,
he wrote a post this morning just about, like, how he's going to
mhm,
work on being more present, wishes he was before, but, so many things are coming up. So that's, I think, like, my lesson here.
right,
You're talking about it. Everybody's talking about, like, being more present and having too much to do, but be present. And it just keeps coming up as the theme. So I was like, all right, that's my, again, not like, I don't like to actually be like, "Oh, that's right, somebody's telling me something." I like to pretend I'm not hearing it. But, like, I was like, "Oh, here's my lesson. So I am being told, because I
present.
don't want to listen. I have to be told 20 different ways.
Yeah,
In a way, I'll listen. Be
right,
present, just focus. You can do all of this.
yeah.
Maybe, but
Maybe.
you can
But,
be present."
it's when you're present that you get things done. You know,
Yes.
I mean, I did the nurse thing for 21 years and aide for 5, and rarely did I ever get out of work late. And people
Mhm.
be like, "How do you walk out every day on time?" Because I stay present. I
Yes.
think about this when I'm doing this and that when I'm doing that, and you know what I mean? It's like, even when a wrench gets into it, you're like, "Okay, but that's just one more thing I gotta wiggle in there someplace," but stay
It's just
there.
another thing.
Yeah,
And
you
that,
know?
yeah, and I have to do that because with a lot of things going on, right? Like, I'll sit here and I'll be like, "Well, but I can make that TikTok too, because I gotta do that, and I gotta get
Right.
ready for that." And so it's funny, I'm like, I'm being productive. I'm
Yeah,
not being productive. Or even when I go clean the sink in anxiety, I'm not being productive.
right.
I'm just like, "Okay, enough messages, today, really, like, literally today, like, since I woke up, enough messages about being present, do what you have to do." I was like, "Okay, we can do all of this if you can just be
Right.
present and do what you have to do." And so I had to, I laughed when I turned, just this little bit of the show, and you're talking, and I was like, "Mhm, yep."
Mhm.
There
Yep,
it
you can
is.
see your head
If
go.
if you didn't hear it 10 times already this morning, here's
It's
your
time
next
to
message.
yeah,
And that's even where I say, like, I have to take some classes one day. I got a while till I have, like, class free time and stuff, but because I have plenty of classes going on. But one
mhm,
day, like, I have to learn how to, like, listen to what I'm being told. Maybe listen the first time when I'm being told. It maybe doesn't have to be, because, man, these, like, messages, they have to get creative and tell me, like, 10 different ways. Like, they have to rearrange, like, a Facebook feed or an Instagram feed, like, just to, like, keep throwing it in my face. I'm like, how about you just listen the first time and hear it and just get better at that? And
right,
that will be, like, what I know I have to work on.
right, and I wanna tell you sorry for your loss and the whole community.
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
Yeah, no, thank you. It's been like, and
I know
so it's a coworker, and
I didn't get the joy of meeting anybody, you know what I mean? And yeah,
yeah,
so
it was, yeah, no, it was, Yeah, it's weird. Like going to work, it's it's a funny, like everyone, the first time I went back to work after, and he hasn't been back, but like everybody was just like, "Mer." It's like it's a hard, it's amazing how much we, and so, and like we deal with a lot of death. It's funny at work. I say everything I say is funny. But it's funny at work. We deal with so much, sadness, death, tragedy.
Mm.
And, it's critical care. Like, it's not going great when you're with us.
Yeah,
If you make
yeah.
it to us, it's not going great.
No,
And
I mean, your chances are really getting slim at this point.
yeah, it's a rough time.
Yeah.
And it's wild to me. Sometimes it's really sometimes you hear somebody crying. It's not even sometimes. It's crazy. Like people don't cry that much, probably because at that point it's such a bad time that they don't even think to cry. Like
Right.
right there, they're not crying. So whenever we hear somebody crying, we really do go, "Oh, what's going on? What happened?" And then we're like, "Oh my
Right.
God, no, it's always sad. It's literally always sad here."
Right.
It's everybody should be crying all the time,
Right.
but honestly, like to hear a person cry, we're like, "Did something bad just happen?" Yep, it's always bad all the time. So
Right.
it's been like a weird experience, I think, to have like a community
Mhm.
loss and sadness, and all of us still just showing up to work and, experiencing this. So, and it's how much heavier all of the heavy stuff gets when you have something kind of that is heavy. And
Right.
that's been uh interesting experience. I think kind of like an empathy or whatever. There's sometimes, some rooms you walk into and something sad is happening and you are like, okay, I'm going to walk out now because this was just really sad. And so that's why I say too, I'm really great at putting up those walls. So
Mhm.
when I don't see the ghost walk in front of me, because I'm really good at like,
Right.
we're just going to not feel this and go about our business like we
Right.
have to, because I have a job to do.
Right.
And so even sometimes if my job is to sweep this hallway at a prison, I'm going to do my job and not see
Right.
that thing happen. I'm
Right.
going to, even if I'm like guiding a tour, maybe literally my job kind of is to maybe see the ghost, to like
Right.
have some interaction. It's a
You're
paranormal tour for
not.
God's sakes. But even then I'm like, I got to watch these people. I have a job to do. So that's, I think, an interest that will be like for me,
Mhm.
I kind of, because of course I can't not have projects. As much as I say
Right.
be present, I'm like have 10 more,
Right.
so my next thing, as this degree wraps up one day and, stuff kind of calms down or we settle into the podcast and it's not as much like, work, like launching,
Right.
is that working on being more present to even not just say, I have this task. And maybe the task is literally just, I'm going to guide these people through here, to
Right.
be able to like also open my brain to, and other things can be happening, not just this
Right.
task.
You're gonna have to write a book on what I didn't see.
I, that, that is the book. That's, oh my God, let's all like remember that.
I
That's
heard
the
it in my
title.
head. I'm like, she's got to hear this. She's got to hear this.
That's, oh my God. No, that's awesome. Cause yeah, no, and there's so much like
Yeah.
so I always think of, and I chuckle. So Mr. Rob, I talk about him all the time because I talk to him all the time. He's one of my best friends.
Right.
One day he was so cute. He goes, so his mom was a nurse. And so
Mhm.
he's, has like that perspective and everything. And we were talking about that I don't see these things, or I don't hear them, or I don't admit to it, whatever. I kind of have it shut off. And he goes, it was so cute. He goes, "Yeah, I imagine you've been there. When somebody has died before, when somebody has crossed over, you've probably been there, at least once." And I was like, "At least once," and I'm like laughing because I'm like, this is like normal, and
Mhm.
he was like, oh, and stuff.
Yeah.
So, to me, it was just so, and that's, I was like, oh, so my experiences are different maybe than what people expect experiences. And I have the benefit of, I travel in like 2 communities that get to like be privy to so many
Right.
things that people aren't, right? So
Mhm.
everything with being a nurse, all the stuff I get to experience, see,
Yeah.
know, be part of those moments in people's lives as they're coping with their new stroke, or, the changes that are happening. That's just, that's not paranormal. That's just like really your part. You are an important part right then and there. And what you do makes a difference
Yeah.
in everything, medically and just, interpersonally.
Right.
But then also the whole paranormal world and all the cool places I get to go, the cool
Mhm.
experiences I get to have, the stuff I get to learn about from people.
Yeah.
I'm just so, and that's, how could I not be excited and delighted all the time? Like all of the amazing things that I get to like be privy to.
Yeah.
And I love that. Like that's such an honor to be like part of that world, like in
Right.
so many fronts, and that's because I'm sure we all remember that, like those significant people in our lives, probably a lot of times a nurse, like those significant people that like helped you like see it a different way or feel it a different way or have that experience with them.
Mhm.
And I get to like, as it applies to ghosts, I get to be there when somebody like sees that shadow for the first time. That's amazing.
Right.
And they remember that. And then I get to be there for the other big things, the other like real life big things. And so I think that's like my driving force, like just to be present for all of it. So that's my be present, that I get to
That
be
should be
present for all
present.
of that. Yeah. And I think that's like my driving force in doing more all the time,
Yeah.
is to keep being part of that.
I
So
love that. Carrie, your stories have been amazing. Your journey through this is amazing, Um, like everybody says, I like people to come on because I like them to talk about their stories and making this normal for people, making
yeah.
things normal. And to me, it's a big thing to say, I lived this, but I denied it. I
Yeah.
didn't want to look at this. I didn't want to see this, and I think a lot more people are like that than anything. And when they start to open their eyes, wow, there's this whole
Yeah.
world.
There's a whole world.
Yeah.
I, and I am comforted like that. I know there's that whole world. I know there is, so even like if somebody isn't like physically standing next to me, I know they're still,
They're
they
there.
still get to be as involved as they want to be. And maybe not in the same way, obviously, but
Right.
they're not gone, you still, like, I even like when after my grandma died, like definitely like had dreams. She was visiting and I was like, and again, like in my home, my mom would be like, yeah, I saw her, like, yeah, she did, like normal. Like, so this is why I never thought it was that interesting.
It's
Like,
not
oh
well,
yeah,
and that's why you
I
need
guess
the
I
proof
did.
in the pudding because it's like whatever, it's
Yeah.
whatever, you
It was
know?
just whatever. So I didn't think anything of it.
Yeah. Well, I get you because, I live close to Whitewater, Wisconsin, and I just spent some time in Florida talking to a guy that goes to school up here, and he was telling me about the lady that's always on this corner, and I'm like, "And you see her?" She goes, "Yeah, I'll be walking home, from the and she's dead, but she's just." I'm like, "I'm gonna go hang out on this corner to find her."
Yes.
And this is what I have this goal now, before it gets
Yes.
cold to go sit on this corner and say, "Come on, woman, where are you?
Like, come on, show
I
yourself.
wanna see you."
So is she okay? So then, like, I know it's getting time to be done, but like,
Yeah,
do
she's
people
got
know about her or does
yeah,
this
I
man just
guess
know about her?
no, I guess it's this big story about this well, Whitewater, Wisconsin is one it's got a lot of spiritual stuff, it's got a lot of paranormal, and they got, like, the Witch's Tower. It's also where the very first Morris Pratt actually started there, which is Morris Pratt Institute for Psychic Mediumship Development, which
Okay.
that's where this actually started, is in this town. But apparently there's some story that she lived there and some, bad ending in her life. I really didn't pay attention a lot to the backstory. And because I don't care about history. I want to talk to the dead guy. That's me. And he's like, no, and she sits out there, there's that she comes out and she sits on this corner, like on this bench or whatever. And I'm like,
Oh my God.
and I'm going, for real? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, and you've seen her? And he's like, yeah. And I said, and she's a dead person. He goes, yes. What part of this do you not get? I'm like, the fact that I'm gonna be there. And you're gonna walk home going, because I'm gonna be stalking the dead lady until she pops out because I want to see it. I
He's
want
gonna be
to see
like, you're sitting next to the dead lady. Like, you don't see her? Like, come on. And you'll be like, no.
I know I'm gonna be that person going, I'm not leaving it until you show yourself, so because I want to be the person that sees them out here and not just in here the way I see them.
Yeah,
So
so no, that's the thing, right? Like, so I was talking to Mike Ricksecker, like, 'cause he's big
yeah,
on like the shadow people, but they're not every, like, sometimes it's just how you see things. Like, not every shadow you see or shadow, sometimes it's just how you see them. So I no joke, I would think I'm like seeing shadow people, so
mhm.
maybe that's even part of it too. I'm like, maybe I'm just seeing bad things. And he's like, no, sometimes it's just like, it's the frequency you see stuff at. So like when I see a shadow, maybe somebody else saw a white blob. I don't know, they could see colors.
Yeah,
I just tend to see like good shadowy outlines, that's kind of how I'll see it. The only time I ever saw like not, if I saw The only time it was not like a shadow was Mrs. Bauer at my house. It was like a white, like misty blob. It was definitely a woman. But other than that, it's always dark. And I think that's just how I see them. I don't, and sometimes I hear, and other people hear them. So that's why I know like they're actually audible, but I'll hear whispers, I'll hear it like, and it sounds like whispers. It's like, it's talking. I know it's talking, but a lot of times it'll even, and where I don't trust or believe is that it's like, I'll hear it in my head, and then I go, that's where I'm like, that's not real. I'm just like thinking that, like, that's just like my inner voice. But sometimes like, no, it probably is not. And, or if I see it's not, I'll like, if I see it, I don't think it's actually, I know I'm not seeing it for real. I know it's not actually out there. It's just kind of how my like brain perceives it. It's like a sparkly wiggly, kind of is how I'll see it. But like, I want to go see that woman on the corner and like literally see her. So that's why I'm curious. Does this man who sees her, does he see other ghosts? Like
just the one, the one. I was like blown away because I'm thinking because he's from White, he's the head of the school, like, he's a student, but he's head of the like student party, so he's got to show up for all these things, and I'm looking at him like, oh, and this and that, and he's like, what spiritual? Oh, well, I know about the witches. I mean, this man he didn't even know they had a paranormal group at his college, and so this is not a man that's like seeing dead people
out there seeing. Oh my God. So that gives me hope for this woman. I'm like, we could all go to the corner. We could all see her.
I think me, you, Paige, Jen, everybody just needs to go sit on the the corner and drink some hot chocolate, wrap up, because I'm staying there all winter until I find the woman. You know what I mean? They're like, Spirit, I want to see dead people. Show her to me.
We should. Oh my God, that would make an amazing like series. Just go there, different seasons, and have somebody just like take our picture all together, because that would be hilarious. Just us like in various levels of winter or summer. But also maybe one of those pictures, I feel like finally after like enough time, she'll be like, fine, you crazy ladies. And it'll show up and she'll be, and like, well, I'll turn around and see her, and then we'll get a picture like of her and us just being shocked. Like, yes. And we'll just say hi and be like, great seeing you. Yeah. Peace out. And she'll be like, cool, you left now? Cool.
Like, leave me alone. I'm a distraught woman. I want to be left alone. That's my fun at night.
Why do you all come here? Sit here with me. It's really weird. Yeah. We should do that. That should be like the series. Like,
are you doing okay? Can we help you? No, we just want to see you.
I'm just sitting on the corner. Go. I just want to see this man walk by, say hi to me, and then we'll just move on.
Right. That's it. We're going to be good. We're going to be good. Okay, Harry, you have been so amazing this morning.
Thank you.
Appreciate
it's been delightful.
I can't wait to see you in person again and actually have a few minutes to talk.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Oh, I can tell you. Because I know we got a brief moment at Chris.
Oh my God. Well, that whole day was like that. It was the fastest ever. And so I'm looking forward so much, like a little bit. I'm like, oh my God, we're there for 3 days. And then I'm like, no, this is super fun, because like, I would like that couple hours to last 3 days.
Yes.
So I'm very excited.
Yes. Oh, me too. I am so, and it's so much jam packed in, but it's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. So
I'm very excited
for anybody. And how can do you want people to get a hold of you?
So yeah, I mean,
I know you got a lot of information at this point.
So let's say, how about follow me on, probably I spend the most time on Facebook because I laugh. So speaking of Paige will just be like, they just talked about me the whole time. Paige is really good at Instagram. Like that's, she's like, I'm good at that. I'm good at just like putting stuff out there and whatever. Yes. I'm like, I'm really good at Facebook. Like that's what I'm good at, and I don't know why, like it's not even like I'm way older than her or something, but I'm like, that's what I'm good at. So Facebook is where I usually am. If I'm on social media. So Kara Phillip, Kara space PHILIP, or Into the Obscure podcast. So Facebook, Instagram, all the same, Into the Obscure podcast or Into the Obscure, and Kara Phillip. So I'm like, follow me and come hang out on adventures.
She's got some adventures, and you'll be like, where do you live? Because she's in a different state, a different area. You're always doing something. It's great to watch.
It's
just
fun. Yeah. I look forward to like when school is done, which it's going to be a while. Cause then I'm like, oh, I will have like the world will be my literal oyster. Like I will have time.
right.
And so I look forward to that. That'll be super fun, but it'll be a little while.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on getting that master. I know it's not there yet, but
Thank
just the
you.
fact that you're doing it is like mind blowing to me. So congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. I don't even know how I like backed into this corner. I was like, that's sure I'll apply. And here I am. Like,
I
I
love
said to
it.
my husband one day, like, oh, this isn't that much fun. He's like, who said it was going to be fun? I was like, I don't know. I think I did. I was wrong.
I was wrong, but I'll have it. You know what I mean? I'll have it.
When it's done, it'll be great. When it's done.
Yeah.
And then the whole time I will look back and be like, that was fine. What am I complaining about? And then I'll look back on this interview and I'll be like, that's right. It wasn't fine.
It was too much. Well, thank you so much for showing up. And I hope many people follow you and just
Yes.
watch your adventures and where you are at next. So thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. And I'll see you in a couple days.
Oh, definitely. Everybody else, I'll be back in a few minutes with your weekly reading. This is Dad here on School Through Spirit, WLTK-DB.com. Thank you so much, Kara.
Thanks. Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. This is Dad here on School Through Spirit with WLTK-DB.com. I have had the joy of having Miss Kara with me, Kara Phillips Philip with me all morning. And wow, what a gem. I love Kara. And that energy is all the time. She is very much for real, very much loving life, loving people. And it's incredible. It's incredible. So please do me a favor, follow her. Kara space Philip, or Kara Phillip, obviously on Facebook, Into the Obscure. Just watch. You'll learn so much. You'll just learn life. You'll learn to love people. You'll learn to love life. You'll love the adventure. It's just incredible. So, but let's do our 5-card stud. And you know what? It's not time yet, but we're doing it anyway because I have a producer, Todd, that I love dearly. And your weekly reading this week and next week is going to be from this deck. Normally I'd wait until October, but we're doing it. We're doing it. Who cares? We already decorated the house for Halloween, guys. I mean, we're mid-September and we got Spookville everywhere. So we're going to do the 5-card stud from the Halloween Oracle deck, which I call the Paranormal deck. Why? Because I can. So we're going to pull 5 cards from this. What these cards are pick 1 card, 2 cards, 4 cards, all the cards. I don't care. It's your reading. But this is what you're going to focus on for the week, okay? So there you go. And when I'm done reading them all individually, I'll tell you what they all mean together. How's that sound? Okay. So I'm just going to shuffle here for a moment. And then do a little bit of this. I don't know. I always cut in 3. I don't know why I cut 3 because guess what? It's only the half a cut that matters. But the first card is Blind Spots. It's a Skull of Darkness, Blind Spots. I don't know if you can all see that. But with looking at this card, there is something that you are not seeing, okay? You're not looking. You've got some issues going on. You're going, what the heck is going on? You can't figure out what the problem is. but you're not looking at the whole picture. You're not seeing in the shadows. You're not looking around. Like when you're in your car and you got those blind spots, you got to move your head a little bit to see the whole picture, don't you? So you need to start looking at where you haven't looked, what things are hidden in order to figure out the problems to those solutions to those problems. The next one is the Winter card, and it's the sacredness of pausing. The sacredness of pausing. You know what? I can't say this enough, probably because people can't say this enough to myself. Okay. Taking that moment, taking that breath, and learning to take things in. And this is what this card is saying. So if you pick card number 2, it is about literally taking that moment, taking a breath, being able to stop and look around and see everything that's there. Because when we're going, we miss so much. The card number 3 is the earthly weaver of the worlds. It is the Witch card, the earthly weaver of the worlds. Wow, that's incredible. Look at that. That's so dynamic. And that card, when I'm looking at it, I'll tell you what, there's a lot of magic there, okay? And it's telling me that if you pick card number 3, you have a lot going on, You've got things here, there, and everywhere. And you're thinking, how am I going to make this work? It's telling me you can. You just got to kind of think outside the box. You have to realize that sometimes life just happens and you have to add a little bit of magic to make this all work, okay? But it's telling me, don't worry, it's going to. Everything's coming together for you. All these pieces that are floating everywhere are going to come together, and the magic's going to happen. Okay. Card number 4 is wise seeing, wise action. It's the Owl card. Wow. That's pretty cool. Okay. That card really is that start looking at stuff without the drama. Hate to say it. And even without the analytical mind. Okay. Because things are just what they are. Okay. And this is what it's telling me. Things are what they are. When you talk to a very wise person, you talk to your grandma, you talk to whatever, she never brings in the drama. She never brings in the analytical. It's the wise words. Why? Because the wise words are very simple. It is what it is. It is what you see. There's not a whole lot around that. So start looking at things as for what they are versus everything that you're adding to it. Okay. And the last card is authenticity, the invisibility. Okay. You're walking into some stuff here, and it's letting me know that with the authenticity card is to start looking at yourself from a different angle, a different perspective. Okay. Stop taking, and putting fluff into things, pulling that out, and really looking at yourself from a person that, you have a set of rules and or morals that you live by, and it's time to start getting back to some of those. Okay. Not saying that if you pick card number 5 that, you're off the beaten path. It's just telling me that you need to kind of get back to your own set of morals and your own set of ethics. Okay. So card number 1 is the blind spots. Card number 2 is the sacredness of pausing. Card number 3 is that earthly of weaver worlds, that things are coming together. Card number 4 is the owl, which is seeing of the wise, speaking of the wise, taking that wise action, which is doing it for what it is, not overdoing it. And card number 5 is the authenticity, that, getting back to where you need to be. Now, when I'm pulling all this together, I feel as if this reading is saying there's a whole lot going on, and you're going, what the hell am I supposed to be doing right now? And I feel like this reading is also for me as much as it might be for Tim and some other people. But when I pull it all together, there's a lot going on, and a lot of confusion, and a lot of unknowns out there. Okay. Tons of unknowns out there. So, but it's really taking a moment, just taking a second, getting rid of the drama, getting rid of all the crap, and going, okay, I'm going to woosah right now. I'm going to take some breaths. I'm going to breathe through this. And then I'm going to come back at this and say, okay, where am I supposed to go from here? Okay, logically, where am I going to go from here? And you're going to start to see things mapped out for you. You're going to start to see it mapped out for you. But be true to yourself in this. Don't make stuff up. Don't flip a corner. Don't do crap that you don't need to do in order to make it up. So stay authentic to yourself, and trust me, it's not going to be that big of a deal. Okay, so I wanted to pull out, I need to do the Beyond Lemuria cards because I loved adding this extra element in there. Okay, just because they're wordy, they say a lot, but it always blows me away how well these cards go with any deck, any deck, any reading. And it's also that extra verification, that extra verification that goes, okay, what was Jet trying to say with this? What was she meaning by this? And then I pull this card, and for me, it just feels like it brings it all together. It brings back that extra little bit. Okay. So, ooh, pretty card. Gorgeous card. It says solar plexus chakra. Solar plexus chakra, radiant illumination. The solar plexus chakra is a radiant center of your being. It holds a vibrant spark that brings your passions to life. Enter this space to step away from playing small, unworthiness, the idea that you are taking up space, and insecurity-based competitiveness. Allow yourself to be attuned to the abundant life force that resides at your center, and be energized, motivated, and fueled with inspiration. Bring forth more of what you wish to birth in the world. As you discover a deep and real sense of self-empowerment, you can confidently lift others in celebration, harmonizing differences, and shifting into a collective co-creation. Wow, that was a mouthful, guys. That was a mouthful. But I'm going to tell you, I'm going to stand by this, because I do feel like with everything that's going on with the first 5 cards, this card is telling you that, guess what? All this is happening for a reason. Everything that's happened this week is for a reason. And even though you have a whole bunch happening, a whole bunch of unknown going on, all of this has happened for a reason. And you deserve, I'm going to tell you deserve some doors shutting so all these other doors can open up for you, that you very much deserve. You are worthy, and it's time for you to walk into those doors. It's time for you to do it. Okay. So I want you to go forth and enjoy this week, because it's going to be one hell of a week. Now, I did stay a little bit longer with Carol. Why? Because, guys, I don't know what shows are going to be here this week and which ones are not going to be here this week. And that's perfectly okay. Why? Because it is what it is. But again, guys, I want you to take those moments this week. We do have some shows running. Maybe not all of them, because as we wind down to next week being the last week of the station, some shows have decided to kind of go off on their own, and that's okay. Find them someplace else. And other ones, maybe not so much. And like me, I'm a diehard. I'm going to stick through. All right. Awesome. Lee says, Lee Warner is the Monday night ticket is happening tonight. And Lee, is that at 6 p.m.? Is that at 6 p.m., darling? And I also know that Christina Bloom's, oh my God, I just forgot. Christina Bloom's show is going on tonight. Oh my God, I just literally, 7 p.m. Thank you, Lee. And Christina Bloom's right after her at 8 p.m. tonight. And don't ask me why I cannot think of Christina's show for the life of me. I've only been saying it. Be the change. Thank you, Lee. I've been saying that for 2 years now, and it just totally escaped me. So, and then of course, Christina's on right after that. And I'll tell you what, it's going to be an amazing, amazing night for you guys. Thank you, Todd. So I want you to watch those. And again, tune in Thursday morning at 9 a.m. Okay. Thursday at 9 a.m. We are going to have, Miss Megan. Again, she's the ghost finder. She is the witch from the Ghost Finders. She's a phenomenal makeup artist. Oh my gosh. This woman, you're going to love her. She's got so much to offer, and she's just another lady that's just, oh my God, just resonates beauty from the core on out. So that's going to be an aired show, recorded show. So, please come in and comment, still do all that. I'm going to show up and look at those comments and truly enjoy it. Okay. And of course, Haunted Voices, hopefully you'll be on this week. I'm not sure. If it is, it is. If it's not, it's not. Who knows? We don't know what's going on in the background anymore. So, thank you. You have a great day too, guys. So for everybody that's been listening, thank you so much. Next week, I just have to let you know, I want to get her whole name up here. Sorry. And it's Jody Jacobson is going to be on next week, guys. Jody Jacobson. She is, she's a witch. She's a 2nd degree Cabot witch. Yes, from Lori Cabot, who is in Salem. And she just got back from Salem that long ago. She's actually between some Salem tours, going back over there to learn more and participate as she does there, because that's her coven. But she also owns Midwest Witchery in, I believe it's Stillwater, Minnesota, or right near Stillwater. And she's just an amazing guest. She's an amazing person. She's a friend of mine. I've gone there to teach, and now she's taking my classes. So I really want you to come in and enjoy her. And then we're going to have a special surprise guest next week for that last recorded show that I'm going to have. Okay, guys. So that being said, I'm going to love and leave you. You guys have a great week. I will see you tomorrow. I will see you in person next Monday, and I'll see you on the record this Thursday. This has been Deanna here with School Through Spirit on WLTK-DB.com. See you guys. Bye.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTK-DB.com.